Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss Unit 6 of MEG4, which is word accent, stress and rhythm in connected speech. So this is a part of Block 3B. With this and the next unit, we will be able to complete this whole block. So half of your syllabus would be done. So before we start this video, I would like to show you a clip of Sheldon Cooper, and then you tell me what do you think of the way he's speaking and what he's speaking. Are you able to get it? So let's see.
If you really want to challenge yourself, you could learn to speak Hindi. और जब मैं आप सकता मैं ऐसी कथा. Did you see that in English? I never learned Hindi.
It was he spoke Hindi, but none of us were able to understand it. And at least for me, I would say I was not able to understand it. But if you did, very good. So what is it that is happening in this video? He spoke Hindi. It is a language which most of us speak, so we should have been able to understand it. But we did not. That's because of his accent, his stress, and his rhythm. Each and every language has its own rhythm and certain words that we stress on. And especially we know that in English there are a certain stress which are very different from when we speak Hindi or some other Indian language. So as I've mentioned before, because I speak Hindi, I'm going to take it more of an example because that's how I understood these differences. You can definitely take your own language. So today we will understand how these things are affecting the way we speak. So in this unit, you can see here that they have given what all things we are going to learn. So I'm just going to start with the introduction here. So what is our IGNOU syllabus makers or whoever has designed this, they are trying to tell us here. Let's start with this example. This is the word which is pelican. It has total three syllable division, which with which we can pronounce it as pelican. And then we have Peter. It has two syllables, so it can be divided in P and ter. That's how usually we pronounce it. If I come for more complicated words ahead, that is philosophy, which has four syllables. Now I can divide it in phi, lo, so, fi. So usually with just two syllables word, it is easier to pronounce. But when I come for more complex words like this one, philosophy, or higher than this, or anything which is higher than two syllable word. Now see in this pelican, the three syllable word, what is happening is I can divide it like pel, e, can, or pel, ik, an. But we don't pronounce these words this way. We definitely pronounce it this way, like we did it here in this one. So we have more than one alternatives available for us to be able to pronounce these words. But the way we pronounce it is totally going to change the meaning or even the comprehension of the other person who's listening to you. So in order to make sure that we are pronouncing the correct thing and we are comprehensible to each and everyone or to those people, our audience, they are able to understand us, we have to make sure that we are pronouncing these things properly. So then they have also given certain more examples like ability, so ability, or a by li t. So they have given more examples. I'm not going to go way deep into it, so you can just read all of these. So I will come to this word, fender. So they have given us three different options with which we can pronounce. The first one is fen, then der. This is fe, under, and then fend and So they have also given which ones are possible and which ones are not possible. So the first one, which is fen and der, this division is acceptable and this is the most widely used pronunciation. This one, on the other hand, the second one is not acceptable because it has N and D, and this combination of syllables, I would say, or this combination of alphabets does not stand on its own. It needs to have another of letters which come up before it, because this cannot just be on its own. You have never seen a word in English which just starts with d. You will never see this. It will always be either in the end or it will have something before it. So it can be either in the middle or in the end. So this is why this is not possible. Okay, the second one. And then finally the last one, fend are, which is also possible. You could speak it like that. They have made us understand that what are these different combinations of words that we speak. They've also given the same example for this word silver, which you can read on your own. So now what they're trying to do is, let's say they have given us these simple words, just one syllable words, point, lost, salt. So these are one syllable words, so we don't have to do this, which part should I stress on, because there is not a lot of parts in this. But then as we move ahead, these are the examples of the two syllable words, then three syllable words, then four syllable, five syllable, six syllables. With this, now it becomes even more complicated, because when you say responsibility, it could have been spoken in so many different ways that it would almost become incomprehensible for other people to understand. So how do we decide on which part should we emphasize on? Which part? When I say responsibility, which part of this word is highlighted to you more? Is it re? Is it spawn? Is it see? Is it be? Is it litty? Which part is highlighted more? Okay, so this depends on the following factor. So from this actually we start with the questions which usually come in your MEG exam. So the first, there are total, how many factors do we have? Okay, so we have total four factors. Okay, and these four factors, they will determine, they are responsible for which is the more prominent one, which is the more prominent part in a word when it is pronounced. So the first one definitely is loudness. So we stress on a certain word, and then that becomes, we stress on a certain part of that word, and then that becomes the louder one, or the one you hear more. So for example, in this word calculation, when I say, the most prominent part is calculation, and then the second most prominent part is ca, and then the rest of these syllables. So if I remove the ca and then la, so these part, they are not so prominent. So we have seen the first and the second degree loudness of these words, these part of the words. But then the third, fourth, and fifth, they are not agreed by everyone, because the quality of this audio with the loudness, this is not clearly perceptible to the naked ear. That's why for the later part we don't go like 3, 4, 5, we don't go, but we definitely go for the first and the second most loud part of a word. With this, we move to the second reason, or the second responsible factor for prominence is pitch change. So now they have taken example of this word, which is insult. Insult as a noun is recognized not only by the speakers, it uses extra breath and extra force, and thus the stresses of the first syllable, because there is a pitch change in the first syllable. So if I have to explain this to you, insult is a first syllable prominence, and usually when you say that in a sentence, you would be highlighting it like she insulted me. So what are you highlighting on? The first part of this word. If you focus on the word insult, then what am I going to focus on? That would be she insulted me. Okay, so you're focusing on the first part. Then they are also talking about the falling pitch and rising pitch. We will discuss in the next chapter, the next unit. And then the third factor, which is affecting it, is the prominence in the quality of a vowel. The quality of a vowel. The example is given here is, if I have to say this nonsensical word, I would say ta 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 ta. So then you will just say, okay, ta 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 is what I'm listening to. But now suddenly, if I change just one vowel, I make it from a to e, then when I say ta ta ti ta 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 ta, now what is the one which is coming out more, which is the one which is coming to your ears more? It is that e sound. Why? Because all the other sounds, the qualities of and then this one suddenly differs in the quality. So that's why you're going to listen to this more, or this will come out more prominently. And then finally, we come to the last fourth one, which is quantity or length of the syllables. So if one of the syllables in a word, or of more than one syllable, is made longer than the others, then it comes out as quite strong, and that syllable has to be heard more prominently. So to recap, the four main factors which we discussed, the first is loudness and pitch. So second is pitch, quality, and quantity. So usually pitch and length, they are the more important ones, and then loudness and quality, they are not as much affecting how the way we say the word. Okay, I have highlighted it here, you can see. Okay, so after this, we will move to the next part, which is the level of stress. They have given this example of the word organization. Organization. If you listen carefully to this word, as I have mentioned earlier for the other word, so similarly, this one, organization. So this sir is coming the first most prominent part of this word, and then the next one is or organization. Organization. First syllable sound in organization or it is characterized to have a large extent by loudness or extra breath force and that may have no pitch prominence in relation to its neighbors. This is why this sound is called secondary or non-tonic or rhythmic. Whereas if we talk about sa, which is the more prominent one, this will always be associated with a pitch change. Okay, then the word is said in isolation. And then if I talk about the remaining three syllables, they would be grouped together and described as weak or unstressed. Weak or unstressed. So what did we learn in this part is that we're talking about the first part which we pronounced that was or this would be called either secondary or non-tonic or rhythmic. And then the second most the first the most prominent word was sa. This is definitely because of the pitch change, and then the rest of the words they are just unstressed or weak, unstressed or weak. Okay. With this, we understand that there are two levels of stress. The first one is primary or tonic, and then the second one is either secondary or non-tonic. Placement of stress on the word. So, certain countries with their languages, they all have their own rules. For example, in Czech language, the first syllable is usually stressed, or in the case of Polish language, the syllable before the last is usually stressed. So each and every language has its own way. For example, in Hindi, we mostly stress on each and everything and then we speak. But English has its own rules, and unlike Czech or Polish, these rules are not as easy just how in these languages are. So let's see what are certain stresses if we see certain more words. So it is difficult for us to find out which part of the word you should be stressing in the English language because it's a little bit different. Each and every language has its own way of pronunciation and certain other rules. So let's see, we are looking at some examples of two syllable words where the stress is on the first syllable. Able, dozen, instant, almost, fortune. Okay, and then we see the examples of words of two syllables with the stress on the second syllable. Become, event, instead, exchange, myself. Okay, then ahead I come three syllables, and then first syllable is the emphasized one, character, delicate. And then three syllables where second syllable is more emphasized, consider, continue. And then again three syllables. And so you can see similarly they have given lots of examples. You can go through them. So we have total three functions like this in the English language of stress. So we have total three functions of stress. Let's see what are the three functions. So the first one is it helps us to distinguish between grammatical functions of the word that have the identical spelling. For example, when I say the word contact, it could be used either as a verb or as a noun. Okay, contact could be used either as a verb or as a noun. So, as I've mentioned before in my previous videos, that in English they have this very interesting thing that when you are speaking of a noun, then you would be stressing on the first part of the word, the first syllable of the word. And when you're talking about a verb, then you would be stressing on the second part of that word. So, for example, in this first sentence, which I have here on the screen, I hope you're able to see that. When I say, can I have your contact number? Don't mind this I know it should be capital. So let's make it capital. Okay, let's go. So when I say, can I have your contact number? Now at this point, contact here is a noun, so I will be emphasizing more on like, can I have your contact number? So I will be emphasizing more on contact. Sorry, I'll be emphasizing more on con. While if I try to say the sentence like she was trying to contact you, then I would be emphasizing more on the second part of the sentence, which would be act. This syllable, I'd be emphasizing more on this because now I'm using contact as a verb. So you have to understand that the first use of this stress is it is about the grammatical function. So now this was here a noun, and then the other one, the noun is verb, even though they are both the same words with same spellings, but now their function has been changed. Now I come to the second part. So this is about the morphological structure of the word that is derived by the addition of prefixes and suffixes. So these shifts, the stresses, they might change a little bit when a longer word is derived from the smaller word. And then these examples are given like academy, then you're stressing on this part. When I say academic, then you're stressing on this academic part. And then when I say academician, then I have a certain different pronunciation. monotone, monotony, monotonic. Okay. So even though it is almost a similar word, we have just changed the last part, but the pronunciation is entirely changed. Monotone, monotony, and monotonic. Okay. With this, we come to the third and the last part of the uses of stress. So it also helps us to distinguish between some compound words and noun phrases. For example, if I say grandmother, the easiest example I could think is like this grandmother. So if grandmother is talking about the mother of my mother, then the relationship which I would say, so then this is grandmother. So then what am I emphasizing on? Grand, This first syllable is the one that I'm emphasizing on. But when I talk about, let's say, a mother who's grand, she's not really a nani or dadi of someone. So then I would, in that case, emphasize on the word, on the second part, which is mother. So it's a grandmother. So this is a compound. Compound is when we add two different words and then we make another word with a new word with that, which means entirely something different. So that's a compound. We are going to learn more like this in the coming units. And this is a noun phrase. You can read more examples here. So with these three are the three uses of stress in English language. I'll come to the next part, which is certain rules which are used for the placement of primary stress on words. So in total, we have four rules like that for the placement of stress. So let's talk about these rules. So let's come to the first rule which we have. That is, if you have a two-syllable word, then the stress would either be on the first or the second syllable. But as much as you move to the longer words, which have prefixes or suffixes, then they may receive the primary stress on the third or fourth or fifth. It is possible that the stress would change from first to second or first or last to somewhere in between. For example, calculations. So the stress is on this part, this middle part. Sensibility. So the stress is here. Second rule is that the inflectional suffix is stressed, but it will not affect the stress. For example, tense, person, degree, these will not be accented. So they have given example. Table, tables, garage, garages, enjoy, enjoyed. You did not really change the emphasis. Enjoy, N was still emphasized, N is still emphasized. Enjoy, enjoyed. Correct, correcting. So the emphasis did not change here. Then I will come to the third one, which is the derivational suffixes. They are not stressed and they do not affect the stress either. For example, if I add the word, this suffix, which is age, so postage, breakage, it did not change the stress which I had before. Before I was stressing on this was my stress. Post, if I say the word post, is this first part is more stressed. And even when I say the word postage, still the stress is on. Oh, post. Okay, then there are more examples for that. And then finally, we have derivational suffixes receive stress and it could affect word stress. Sometimes that is also possible. For example, I say the word employ, but then when I change it to another word, employee, by adding that double E, suddenly my stress is changed from employ. I'm stressing on the middle part, which is like this, ploy. Now suddenly I'm stressing on employee. So what am I stressing on? I'm stressing on these two new e's which I have added to this. So this is the fourth rule. And then they have given more examples here. You could check. They have also given some exceptions like Arabic, choleric, rhetoric, arithmetic, which do not follow these rules. With this, finally, we'll come to stress and rhythm in connection speech. I know this is getting a little bit longer, but also this unit is very long. It was about 26 pages in IGNOU books. So, definitely, I'm trying to cover most of it, but it would take more of your time. Okay, so let's see what is rhythm. Rhythm is a regular, periodic recurrence of certain patterns or colors or design or sound. Okay, so that is rhythm. Rhythm is roughly of two types. So, the first type which they talk about is syllabled time rhythm, which is generally in proportion to the number of unstressed syllables between them. Okay, and these kind of languages would be called syllabled timed rhythm. English is not one of these languages for sure. And then we have the second type, which is stressed time rhythm. In these languages, stressed syllables have a tendency to occur at roughly regular intervals of time, irrespective of the number of unstressed syllables. So the number of unstressed syllables does not affect it, but they will come regularly. They will come regularly after a certain rough interval of time. Like you would have a certain amount, but it's not exact. Okay. So English belongs to the second category of the language, but this theory has so far neither been validated nor refuted. So it still goes on. Then they are talking about the influences of stress on rhythm in English. So they have given a certain examples of when I say this sentence, I want to go to tell you tomorrow. This sentence will also, like we have seen, there are certain stresses in a word. Now we are also going to see that the stresses are when you say a sentence. Also, there are certain parts which are stressed, and then there are certain parts which just go by and no one actually stresses on them. So let's see what are those rules. Which part do we stress and which part do we let go? So many utterances in English, they do not have this kind of rhythm. For example, what name shall I ask for? Number of content words in an utterance, the greater the number of stressed syllables it is likely to have. For example, the longer the sentence is, the longer number of stresses or syllables which are stressed you're going to have. Now they have given us certain rules for which part should we emphasize more on, and they have also given these symbols. So besides each sentence represent stressed syllables, the horizontal lines in unstressed syllable. Vertical lines talk about the stressed syllables and horizontal lines talk about the unstressed syllables. Okay, so we have to focus on these lines. So when they have said um very very hard, or here's some tea. So I'm focusing on here. So if I see these lines, the line went like this. So here's is stressed, some is not stressed, and then again tea is stressed. So here's some tea. This is how you will pronounce, or this is how you will speak this sentence. So these sentence content words are stressed and structure words are not. We can see definitely. So let's take example of another sentence to better understand what are content words and what are structure words. Okay, so when I say this sentence, he did his best to save the child, so I did not focus on either he or to or the, and it's not just because I'm saying it, but that's how your IGNOU book has mentioned it here. So what instead they're focusing on best, save, child. Why? Because these other words, they are these all words, they are just they are just structure words. They are there to form the structure of this sentence. But even if I was supposed to remove those, the main thing which we are supposed to focus on is child, save, best, did. Okay, so we're supposed to focus on this, so that these are your content words. These are your content words, and then structure words are just for the grammatical reasons. Okay. So now let's see on more rules on which part would you be emphasizing and which part not. So for example, if I ask you a question, how many horses did you see? Then I would say 10 horses. Okay. Why? Then I would be focusing on 10. Why? Because horses has already been talked about. We already know that this is what we're talking about. So even if I don't say horses, I would just say 10. It would still make sense. So then in that case, you will be stressing on this information which is new, and you will ignore the information, or you will keep the information which has already been given to you unstressed. Okay. Then let's talk about the weak pronunciation or weak form in English language. So what are certain words? As we have seen earlier here, these are the structure words. The structure words mostly here, that these structure words would be mostly ignored and would be unstressed. For example, all the articles, a and the, an apple, a book. So you will definitely be emphasizing more on a book and less on a, unless it's a specific situation. Then he, his, her, him, me, the pronouns, okay, them, all of these. Determiners would be unstressed as well. And then these helping verbs would be unstressed as well. Be, been, am, are, okay. Auxiliary verbs, all of them, they will be also unstressed. The modal verbs are also unstressed, okay. I'm going down. This is a long list. So I'm going down. So then I'll come to the contracted form. So where I'll say he will do it, he'll do it. They would come soon, they'd come soon. So these are the contracted form. So even you see here the way they are pronouncing here, it's very different. See, he'll, he will. Instead, this is just he'll. Okay, that's how you're going to pronounce it. We have. Now this is just we have. Okay, this one. So these are more examples. Then we come ahead in the sentence form. So if you see, could you post this for me? And you see the pronunciation of this. Could you post this for me? Or let's look at this one. What are you looking at? Maybe this. So then what are you looking at? And these two are joined. These two are almost joined. Okay. So are you? We are not even saying are you. See, there is no r pronunciation here. Nothing. No. It's just are you. Are you? What are you looking at? That's it. Let's make it normal. So then these ones are the unstressed ones. With this, we are able to complete our unit 6. And I'm so happy that this is done because unit 7 is comparatively very small and it will be done soon. So then with this we have completed with that unit, actually unit 7, we'll be able to complete half of our MEG4, which is such a good thing because all the upcoming chapters are very easy compared to this. The first 4 chapters were more, I would say, tedious. So yes, good. Congrats to you if you made it so far. Okay, so the next video would be uploaded soon. I will try to cover as much as possible before your exam. Make sure you watch all the videos, go through them, and let me know in the comment section if there's anything which you would like me to improve or make it better.